Any moms who are looking for a fresh start will want to tune into this week's episode. Today, we hear from Sasha Valdes, who gave birth to her second child and decided to change her life, becoming an RAS Media Rookie of the Year finalist, closing $8.7 million in transactions in her first year. Sasha tells us how she was able to leave her career behind and get started in her real estate journey, all while raising 2 infants and moving her family across the country. If you're just getting started, you won't want to miss her keys to success.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, brought to you by Colibri Real Estate Schools. I'm Tina Lapp, I'm your host. I've been in real estate education and helping individuals start and thrive in their new careers for over 30 years.
Hey, and I'm Andrew Robinson, also with Colibri Real Estate. We are excited to have you here today for this episode.
We are here today with Sasha Valdes. Sasha, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Absolutely. So I am Sasha Valdes. I am from Southeast Florida, so the Tri-County area, Deep South, and I'm with Keller Williams Legacy.
And Sasha, tell us what you were doing before you got into real estate, before you were a real estate agent.
Goodness. So I have 18 years of tenure. I have actually been in sales from anything related, I guess, starting sales in the restaurant business when I was a child, but then later on became a waitress. I have also had sales with the health insurance. I've also become a marketing director. I've had sales with data. Actually, many years I was in the inside sales for data, and that was always interesting. I became a multicultural marketing director in New York for many years. So I was able to get really granular in understanding just how many overlays and just how detail-oriented sales can be. And after that, I was in finance and over-the-road heavy haul, actually. So prior to joining real estate, I went from selling intangible things and ideas to the heaviest thing you can get on the road. So,
right?
Talk about always switching from one side to the other. And now I am selling a very tangible product, but also the most intangible piece that you can give people, and that's homes. So, yeah.
Yeah. So after so many years of being in sales, having a very professional career, you're out there in corporate America. What inspired you to switch the path and pursue real estate? How'd that happen?
Okay, so that story is a little funny because it did not start off with, wow, everyone's really killing it in real estate. I was in a really deep depression through postpartum. And I happened to be living in Colorado where everything was still shut down. And I remember having a baby, having a second baby, and going through the throes of just having spent basically 80 weeks consecutively pregnant because my kids are 53 weeks apart.
Wow.
So I was like deep set in this and I just didn't know where I was going. And I was constantly on the phone, constantly trying to make calls and trying to make sales, and things were just not going in the direction I wanted. And I just didn't see the light. I happened to fly back into South Florida, went to dinner with some of my closest friends and met with one of the people that I love the absolute most and was like, dude, you seem really happy. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, I'm in real estate. Do you not follow Facebook? I'm like, I'm literally like knee deep in babies. Like, no, I'm not following your every move. And I'm like, but are you happy? And he's like, yeah. And then I actually like stalked it a little bit and was like, oh my God, you're traveling, you're going places, you're with a whole bunch of young people like us. Like, this seems great. I'm like, all right, are you making 6 figures? He's like, yeah. Cause I'll be honest. I asked, are you making 6 figures? Cause I don't really want to, I don't really want to jump in something that's going to just put me in the same position. And he's like, yeah. And I said, cool. Well, I'm going to come work with you. And that was it. And so it wasn't like I thought real estate was going to be the solution, the end all be all. I was not in any way, shape, or form following the trends of the housing market booming. I was literally just trying to catch my sleep and figure out what's going on. And I noticed my friend was having success, seemed peaceful, was happy, and had a community, which during COVID, when the rest of the world saw how lonely the world really got, I noticed that my friend was just like shining. And clearly it just made sense for me to try to grasp onto what that piece of magic was. So it ended up being real estate. But had he told me that we were going to go, sort pebbles and put them into picture frames, I probably would have followed him there too. It ended up being just magical. And I cannot express how happy I am that I asked him and that I took the chance to ask him. Because if I didn't, we would have just gone to dinner that night. I would have flown back home and I would not be on this interview now.
Wow. So that dinner, you got inspired, you were ready for a change, you're living in Colorado, you picked up and moved?
Oh, goodness. So how it worked out was that I said, so what's next? After dinner, we show back up to his house and he's like, well, you kind of got to have a license. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like how do I get a license? He's like, well, you're going to have to go through school, get your licensing, and let's see. And it turns out that he said this because a lot of people have approached him amongst our circles, amongst South Florida, amongst agents that just kind of look at him in awe of his success and are like, I want to do what you're doing, right? Yeah. So I was one of like, who knows how many. So he's like, well, you got to get licensed and do that. And I thought, great, I'm going to do that. Now, how do I do that from Colorado? Because I'm still living there, So I found Gold Coast, and I remember Gold Coast is super venerated. And so I was like, oh, good. I can do an online class. This is great. And then I freaked out and go, oh God, how am I going to log into something? Them have my webcam on and I'm sitting there with two babies. And then it turns out that they had an all do yourself kind of portal. And I literally almost cried because I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. So I signed up. And I sent him my receipt, like, guess who paid for this? And he's like, cool, pass it. And I'm like, oh, God, you're so hard, when really he's just kind of telling me what I have to do. So I said, great, I will. So I buy the system and I'm now logged in. And he's like, if you really want to, come into this, there's this event happening. It's called Family Reunion. And it'll cost you a stack, and you're going to have to get involved on this. And I'm like, geez, right now, money and things and $1,000 just to go somewhere. I was like, oh, you know what? Fine. All right, cool. I'm going to do it. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'll see you there. So then I sent him a receipt that I had purchased the ticket to Family Reunion. So now I'm on my way to Family Reunion in a few short months. And Christmas is here. Things are going along. I'm doing the portal slow and steady while battling like maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, all these things. And it's a lot. And I'm going, oh my God, am I really going to do this? And I was like, well, you decided it. And I could have backed out millions of times and I didn't, So all in all, I end up going to Family Reunion. I end up meeting all these wonderful people. And everybody's like, so how long have you been licensed? I'm like, I'm not. And they're like, what? And so now everyone's exchanging communication because, networking amongst realtors, which I had no idea just how talkative we all are. I thought I was the only one. And now I'm meeting tens of thousands of people just like me. I end up going, and sure enough, I pass out my email and it's not at KW, it's at Gmail. So I had to make a promise like, hey, you've already kind of set the tone that you're going to make this happen. And so sure enough, I was like, great, this is what we're going to do. I end up going to the Family Reunion. It ended on Tuesday. I flew back home. MCO was in Orlando. So MCO to Denver and packed my family up. And on Saturday morning, we had moved down to Colorado. And I had a 10-month-old and a 22-month-old in tow with a one-way ticket and like saying bye to the house and saying bye to everything. And so basically I did that, had a couple of weeks in between to kind of figure everything out, took my examination with Gold Coast, passed it. And that was so nerve-wracking because if you don't pass Gold Coast, so you have to wait 30 days to pass it. So now I'm freaking out. I have my kids. I don't have a house. I'm kind of figuring out what I'm going to do. And I passed the exam and I go, great. Well, now what? So Darnell says, well, go take the state exam. And I'm like, okay. So sure enough, I go to take it and I passed it. And then when I passed it, he's like, the next step is you have to hang your license. So you have to bring it in and get onboarded with Keller Williams Central at the time. And that's exactly what we did. So long story, all of it were baby steps. All of it was directions like either you do or you don't. And I did, and I kept, and I'm doing, and now we're here.
So how long did it take you to get from I signed up for Gold Coast, like that dinner, to I hung my license? What was the time window there?
Okay, so I'll be honest, I did not sign up to Gold Coast right away.
You faked a receipt? You're like, oh yeah, I bought this.
No. What it was that I was like, let me get back. I believe that I had asked him like maybe a week before Christmas, so it was like right at Christmas. So I was like, I promised myself I'm going to do this. And so before the new year, I believe that I had signed up. So this was like I had signed up and then I opened the module after the new year because I was like, I didn't know. The biggest thing, I didn't know if there was a time block, because sometimes there's time blocks on these things. I love that you guys can go back and you have like a year. I didn't know that. So I was nervous to open it and get timed out. I don't have the money to do this twice, right? So all this happens, and from truly opening the module to actually actively doing it, I would say less than 3 months' time.
Wow.
And the reason it took 3 months is because I was doing it while caretaking for 2 children that were at that point, under 1 and under 2. So it was a lot. And my one son needs a little bit more help with certain things at that time because he was in a developmental brace for his feet because he was born with clubfoot, which I don't share too often. So maybe we keep that or take that out. I'd prefer not. So maybe we'll have it there. But it's a little bit harder because when you have a 10-month-old that's braced on the bottom, you're constantly having to carry them. And then putting them to nap is not the same way as just putting them in a little cushion and patting them on the butt. So it was cool to have the portal so accessible at all hours of the day because there was no time schedule. There was nothing that, was stable during that whirlwind of baby life. So it did take me a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's not long. This one thing I've seen is everybody thinks it takes them forever, and 3 months is a great time frame when you're doing it on your own. That's really good.
Really? I thought
yes.
I was so slow. I'm like, gosh, you're still on chapter 11.
Everybody seems to think that, but 3 months is a great amount of time to do that. I mean, it's your spare time. You know what I mean? You're finding time here and there. It's
very sparingly. It was to do one chapter was taking so long because of my schedule. I'm sure if I had the opportunity of not having that, it would be very, very quick. I don't foresee if somebody gave themselves a 30-day goal that Gold Coast doesn't make it possible for you to reach it and understand it. Because the coolest part was getting into that state exam. And I'm like, okay, now it's really, you have 1 million chances. It's not the same as failing the Gold Coast one. But I sat down and finished my state exam in less than 45 minutes.
Nice.
And I thought for sure that was way too easy and way too fast. I'm just going to, I probably flunked it. And when they passed it, turned it around and gave it to me, it was like passing with honors. I was like, yes. So, yeah, I always say that because I knew because you take the exam and you have the chapters at the end, but I just didn't know how much you really grasp it. Yeah. So it's cool. Very cool.
So Sasha, you went through all this, right? You went all the way out to your brokerage conference, right? Family reunion. You went out to this conference, you moved your family, you get through the exam first try, bam, you're rocking it.
Right.
Now what? What were your expectations going into your first year? What'd you think was going to happen?
So we had a 30, 60, 90 plan, right? And I was with someone that is very well versed in this Keller Williams world, but also just being a phenomenal agent.
Yeah.
So he kind of told me hey, if you just want to sit around and putz around and do nothing, great. You can do that. Just like everyone else that's not successful. If you want to have success, you're going to have to get organized. We're going to have goals that you want to meet. There's going to be things that you're going to want to do, and you're going to want to be tactful with your day, because anyone can be busy for the sake of being busy. And I didn't understand that until I got into it. But basically, I definitely did my onboarding. I was able to do some of the, there's so many great onboarding programs with different brokerages. So this is not a plug, but everyone has different things. And Keller Williams is super good about giving you different classes to take, like contracts and addendums, and how to, how to prospect, and what it means to work your database, and how to place people in the database, and all the basics that you would need. So I basically followed the formula, and I listened to what they told me, and I did not pretend to know it all, which I tend to know it all right now. So it was really cool. I jumped in. I did what they told me. I synced my contacts. I started calling people, was super nervous about being like, hi, I'm a new real estate agent, and that's like the first thing they tell you to do. And it's silly, because those are the people that love you. Like, they want to see you succeed. So I hung my license and immediately got to work. I made sure that I transferred all my information, that I was aligning with all my things. I got my headshots. I did all these things that would make me look like I'm a ready to go agent. And then I also started working, which is just basically speaking to as many people as I can, really getting to know what systems you have in place that could help you, by sending emails and not just frantically texting people, but having like kind of like a game plan of what you want to execute and how you want to come off to the community. And your Instagram and Facebook is the fastest way to change who and how your message goes, especially if you're a new agent, because people are already watching what you're doing and what you're eating. So like, why not tell them that you're now an agent and be able to express to them that you can help them now, and this is what you're doing. So yeah, it was a pretty easy go-to. Yeah.
This is what I had for dinner last night, and how beautiful it is. And by the way,
check out my new license.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you invested in yourself. You got your business set up. You invested in yourself by taking this education. Like, kudos to you for taking the additional education. It's so helpful. And then, how long after getting licensed were you at the first closing table? How long did that take?
So I had my first contract in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I was able to be placed with someone that was a relocation from Jersey and was a pretty quick-witted, kind of fast-paced person, and my personality type fit right in. So even though he had no idea that I'm a rookie and I'm learning the contract with him as we go, I was able to just kind of get him not only the house that he was looking for, I was able to express what I knew, which is South Florida, because even though I was in Colorado, I'm born and raised in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So it was very easy for me to express the knowledge of the area, and that's what he wanted. And then he wanted someone fast. He wanted someone that was able to explain to him what was going on. And even though I was like, so how do I explain that? I was able to then share it with him. So it was kind of like a learning as you go situation. But it was really cool because within 2 weeks, I had my very first contract, and we closed 30 days from when he was executed. So it was a pretty promising start, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Any other like early on funny experiences, or anything that went a little sideways, or anything that you had to, any funny client experiences from your early days?
Oh, yeah. My very first listing almost ended up in litigation. Yeah. We were trying to help a woman that was not very satisfied and had some ideologies that her house might have been haunted. And, and of course, I'm all about peace of mind. And I was like, it wasn't about, literally, it was not about trying to make the sale. I saw this woman super distressed at an open house I was hosting, because that's really what I kind of honed in on, and what I've been doing is open houses. So it's one of my first open houses. This woman walks in, she starts expressing how unhappy she was and how forced she felt in her last purchase of her home. She told me about the mold issues at the house. She told me how she hears footsteps, all sorts of things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't need to stay there. Like, we have a pretty good opportunity. Like, let me help you not deal with that. Like, why why, with how hard you work for you, and she's a single mom of 2 kids, recently divorced, like, why not help her in any way, shape, or form get out of this rut, right? So obviously I got the listing appointment, and my partner and I went, we passed the listing appointment and credentials, so we got the listing. But unfortunately, we were met with a very difficult seller on her purchase of the next property. And when her house went under contract, which was under contract before it hit the market, really, it was a situation with the VA and room counts and all sorts of stuff that had we had just a 10 to 14 day difference, we would have been able to definitely get this turnkey property under contract. Mm-hmm. And the seller refused to give us even an hour of an extension. And so when her seller for her purchase did not do that, and her buyer left, we were left in like limbo. And then we also were not able to get a release and cancellation. So what that means is that the contract stayed alive, and her escrow and down payment basically stayed stuck for quite a few months. And we were not able to just find the next property for her and just kind of keep things going. So I learned probably like the PhD level on my very first opportunity of what to look for, how to protect a client, what to do when things change on addendums, how to keep timelines. I mean, I would truly say that my first few opportunities taught me more than maybe the quick turnkey agent gets as transactions. That's for sure.
Yeah,
she still loves me. I want to include that. She still loves me. She still thinks I'm great. She knew it was not in my hands, but
yeah, it's not your fault. And you face these challenges. You mentioned earlier, you're on the phone talking to somebody else, and did you have a mentor that helped you through this process? I mean, this is really
absolutely. So the same gentleman who I went to and asked for is a dear friend of mine that I've been with for a very long time. And Darnell's actually the team lead on the Aponte group. So I have someone that not only sits on the board, he also sits on multiple different boards for everything for, like compliance and all things that he hears so much of what's going on that it can't just be simple, hey, Darnell, how do I do this? He'll be like, well, you do this. Do you want to know why? And I'm like, no, I just want to know how to do it. Just tell me the answer. And he won't do that with me because he tells me the A, B, C's, and D's of everything that could take place so that I can protect myself, because it's not about the one instance, it's about the learning so that you can implement it time and time again, no matter what is taking place or what transaction number it is. So I definitely had a really great and very powerful, data-driven, contract knowing down to the sentence mentor, which I don't think that anybody can pay for that type of care,
That's tremendously helpful. Yeah. I mean, any new agent, so helpful to get a mentor, and especially one as strong as Darnell sounds. Imagine Darnell is there helping you with many things that you're going through. But there's still challenges getting started. What were some of the biggest challenges you think you faced in your first year?
So the biggest challenge I would honestly say is getting out of your own way, because you can't be a silent realtor. We think things are going to fall into our hands. And even though I have a great mentor, I still have to bring the client in. I still have to do my part, because just because we can go through the actual transaction and figure things out once it's under contract doesn't mean that you're going to be expected to have a contract fall into your hands. There's a lot of legwork that agents have to do. You have to prospect. I did not prospect as heavily as I could have. And I could have leaned in a little bit more into my open houses, but I still accomplished over 40 that year. So that was cool. And so I was doing the right thing. I just don't know if I could give any advice for your first year, it's to really get in contact with your proper clientele and follow up and organize the follow-up, because you might just be texting the same 5 people over and over again and thinking you had a great day. And if you don't truly follow the system and follow the organized manner of how you're reaching out to people, you might be leaving a lot of money on the table. And that's something that I'm very happy with the implementation this year in comparison to my first year.
You mentioned two things there that I'd love to get you to elaborate on. One, the open houses. You said you did 40 of them. For folks who are not in real estate, can you talk about what that is?
Absolutely. So I am a open house specialist, and I have been able to teach people, even on a regional level, how to host open houses and create your first six-figure business from just open houses, which it's a time consumption. It's also a skill-based set when you do have an opportunity of having someone come into a house. And if you are properly executing them, you could have a really great conversion, because people that are shopping for open houses are clearly in the market. So it's even been shown in a book called Ninja Selling that it's 1 in every 15 people that you can reach that have a better conversion for you to actually get some business out of. Meanwhile, you might send 1,000 flyers and you may not get one phone call. 1 of every 15 people that you talk to in open houses could end up being a conversion for a real estate agent. So with that said, I hosted open houses for my team, and then expanded it to host open houses for other agents, because I'm just a buyer's agent. I don't have a house. I don't have a sign with my picture on it saying, call me, but I do have time. I have people skills, and I'm able to host an open house on the behalf of a home that's for sale. And I greet everybody that walks in. I share with them that I am a neighborhood specialist, and I'd be more than happy to help them either purchase this home or find something that's better suited for them. The agents that allow me to host the open house get exposure. They obviously show that they're actively selling the property, so sellers are happy, agents are happy, and I get to meet a lot of buyers that are actively in market that might have just been looking for someone like me and were looking on Zillow that day. So it's really just one in the same of having a great opportunity to meet people and to showcase who you are, since ultimately most people are just looking for someone they can trust to help them, because you're supposed to be the agent and you're supposed to be the expert in this world.
The second thing you said, thank you, by the way. The second thing you said was you wish you had, and you advise people to get to their customers. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So a lot of us meet people all day. We'll go to the grocery store. We as agents are always like on Facebook, somebody drops something. I'm looking for an agent here. You're like, hi, it's me. Hi, or you go to soccer practice. Somebody's like, I was thinking about moving. You're like, oh, you were thinking about moving? How are you? So we're so fast with it for the introduction, but most of us will not follow up. We might send a message here. Hey, I met you the other day. How are you? If we don't get a response, probably don't respond back to them. We feel ignored most of the time. And it's been shown that it takes 12 different taps for someone to engage. And a lot of the times we as agents meet so many people, are happy to do the work for 50 people, but don't actually contact those 50 people back maybe more than 3 or 4 times.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sasha, when you got started, you're a brand new agent. How did you market yourself or establish credibility, knowing that you don't have 20 years experience in real estate? Like, did you face that? Was that a challenge for you? How'd you overcome that?
So knowing your contracts, knowing what you're doing, and knowing the basis of how to, on my end, be a great buyer's agent, understanding that there's different parts of the negotiation that can take place and that you can kind of win an offer based on your terms inside that offer. It was easier to express these things in a one-on-one conversation with clients because you sound like you know what you're doing. Yeah. So if there's one thing that I could say is, as a new agent, I pretty much just told people to trust me, which is kind of strange because they don't know me, right? But I basically just put myself out there as someone of knowledge. And if I didn't know the contract or I didn't know what the terms were, I said enough about family values or great areas in the restaurant areas. Or like, I would always tell people here in South Florida, it depends on what type of life you want. So if you want the green juices in the morning, I know where to get you. If you want the Uber late at night, I know where to put you. So it really just depends on what lifestyle they wanted, so that I, not a person that's had many transactions, but have lived a very vast life here in South Florida, can place them in those areas of South Florida. So you lean into what you know. If you have knowledge of, let's say, new agents, and I'm going very specific for moms here, right? But like, if you're a mom and you've never sold real estate before, but your kids have been involved in all the YMCA programs and all the soccer programs and all the fields, and you know all the parks, just lean in on that. Hey, if you're looking for a house that you want to know that's 15 minutes from XYZ, I'd be happy to help you that. That's going to strike the ear of the client that you might be looking for. And even though that you have not discussed anything about the transaction, they're going to know that you can help them find the house, you know, or being a new agent, having a lifestyle that you like, athleticism with bike riding, you know where the safe areas are that you can bike ride at 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning and get that in. So you may not even discuss real estate to begin with. They just want someone trustworthy that can put them in the right place.
I love that response, because so many new agents are, you know, so worried about establishing that credibility and just focusing on what you know and where your expertise lies. Great advice, Sasha. So other than marketing, are there other strategies? I know you've really focused on the open houses. Is that really what you think led to your success so quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. A lot of people think that open houses are dead, and they don't realize that you have a great opportunity to milk it as best as possible. And what people don't see, and this is something I teach all the time, and I'd be happy to teach any of your agents that come in my open house strategy on just being able to do things like, if you're hosting one open house, you can literally door knock the area and tell neighbors that you're hosting this open house. It puts you in front of people, it gives your card away, it gives people to come into your CRM. And if all you do is tell them that you're an agent in the area, you never know when that's going to pop up and be useful for them. Another opportunity is if the buyers are in the market or they have family moving later and they were just nosy. We get a lot of that too. Yeah. Now you're that person that met, you were charming enough and you weren't shoving a house down their throat. So they're like, woo-hoo, I'm happy to talk to her. She seems great. So you never know what you're building and what you're leaving behind. And I feel that I definitely 100% looking at my transactions from 2023, 2024, and even anything else that I've done, open houses have been a huge success factor. And I would not be here if it wasn't for them. So I really lean in on the before, during, and after an open house and how many things you can use to speak to people.
And just one more question on that. So you're finding people at these open houses are at, you know, all kinds of different ways you've talked about. How do you build that relationship or maintain that relationship? Is there something unique you do to make sure that you sort of keep them in your pipeline?
So when I meet people, I'm really engaging with not just like talking about a house. People think that you go to an open house or you meet people and the first thing they want to do is talk about the house. Oh, so you're looking for a house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. I might as well be an IO for Zillow, you know? So when I meet people, I kind of want to know where they're from. What are you doing? What brought you here? I notice things that most people don't, and it's from selling data that I realize there's different overlays. And some of them are not only where someone's from, what brought them there, what nationality they have, how many children are in the household, what age are those children in the household, where are they going demographically with their life? Are they going to be empty nesters soon? Are they now starting a family? There's different lifestyle triggers that I used to sell in data. And it makes sense because I just kind of watch more on who's walking in. And if there's a family walking in and I notice that they have, let's say, grandma, and grandma is starting to kind of limp out of the car, and I'm greeting them and I'm helping them bring in the walker, you know, I make sure that I put her in a position where she's not going to hurt herself. But then I kind of express to them like, hey, this is a 2-level home. Do you want to look at more ranch style homes that don't have the up and down for grandma not to hurt herself on the stairs? Immediately, I come off as someone caring, someone insightful, and people have an instant understanding that I care about abuela or grandma and that I'm not just there to try to sell the home. And doing that along with people with small children. Hey, a baby gate would fit really well here. This is where you should have a baby gate. Oh, your dog's in the car? Carry your dog inside. This has a great backyard. There's so many things. Sports cars, they walk in with a really cool sports car. Hey, this is a 1.5 car garage. There's other ones in the neighborhood that are 2 car garage. That way both of you can fit the SUV and your husband's hot rod into the garage. And these are just small things that you show that you're watching them and care about them. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the 2004 bedroom, 3 bath.
Yeah. No, it's great advice.
I'm sorry, it's detailed, but
no, that's great. Like, we want new agents to take value from these conversations. That's why you're here, because you're one of the best. So we wanted to talk to you.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, for an agent, just pay attention and people will absolutely appreciate you paying attention. And they will always come back because they know you cared. And if the conversation's only 5 minutes long, while you talk to hundreds of people, you don't know if they're talking to hundreds of agents. So you're definitely going to stick out.
Oh, that's great. It's great advice.
So I just wanted to say that directly to my audience so they hear it.
No, totally. It's great. I imagine you've talked to now hundreds, thousands of people walking in the door to these open houses. Are there any stories about client interactions that stand out to you from your first year in real estate that you want to share?
Goodness. So almost every person that I really engage with that I met at an open house has ended up either buying or selling with me. And the amount of respect I have, I get invited constantly to people's new girlfriends' birthdays and my baby shower this and my first baby that. And, hey, my husband has he got, a raise. And I just wanted to tell you that we're having a celebratory dinner, So like, you become friends with these people that trusted you to get them to their home and then afterwards want to speak with you. So I can't think of anything specific I would share right now because I'm very discretional about sharing my clients' things once we are, just because, I don't know how much they want to publicize or not. Again, I don't stalk everyone on Facebook, probably should a little better. But I truly have made friends with. And one of the biggest ones, and I think it's a success story and it's kind of sad, is that the gentleman walked into my open house and he is a veteran and he messaged me to help him list his house because he was in a really dark place. And he messaged me from an open house and me just casually talking to him 3-4 minutes later. And I get a phone call and he is saying that he's at his end and that he doesn't think he's going to be here much longer. And I said, whoa, don't you dare. Where are you? Let me meet with you. And of course, I don't recommend that for everybody, because that could be dangerous. I hope I'm not giving bad advice. But this gentleman, there was not a bone in his body that could hurt someone. And sure enough, I ended up speaking with him. He ended up meeting me at my office. And he dived into how he separated from his son and told me that he just doesn't want to be here anymore, that things are too tough. And I was like, absolutely not. You may not want to be there in that house, but you're going to be with me and we're going to do this and we're going to latch on. And I basically went from meeting this gentleman in an open house, caring enough about him with a warm smile and a very basic conversation, to him telling me and me basically saving his life because I got him to start with some type of idea that there's an out and putting his house up for sale and then putting that house into the contract, buying the next property where he felt satisfied and full and grateful and was able to help continue. And I think that one's my favorite one. And I'm still friends with this gentleman. I'm so happy that of all the phone calls he made, he called me.
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Really powerful. I'm glad you were there to pick up the phone.
Oh, are you kidding me? Like, I'm about to cry right now. Like, there's things in this industry, just like my first litigation story, my first suicide prevention story, and I feel like God has, and I don't want to get religious, but like, I definitely was placed into this world and the success I've had on a transactional account is great, but who and how I've affected the humans around me is just, there's no words. There's no words. And I hope that others can do the same because it's impactful.
Oh, that's great. And, who'd have thought that was the role of a real estate agent? You have had success, obviously. where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So in the next 5 years, I am hoping to, no, I'm not hoping. In the next 5 years, I will be a leader in my community. I continue growing in the aspect of being involved very well with the Realtors Association. I would like to grow a little bit more into that aspect and actually get to Tallahassee and possibly go into this in a more political format. I would love to be the voice of the people. And apparently there's a lot of different avenues that you can take as a real estate agent that is not just transactionally buying and selling homes. You could help make laws, you could help create things and advocate and all these things. And so I really want to get more involved on that. I see myself becoming more of a community leader, possibly helping other women empower themselves and other people really growing from nothing to something. And I'd like to be able to be more of a mentor for that. And I would see myself having, possibly teams underneath me that could grow with me in that aspect too. But I really just in the next 5 years see myself being a real estate agent that's giving back to my community, that's a very present mother with the success that I have, but I really want to be present because my children are getting older and I'd like to be able to have a great life-work balance. So that's my game plan.
Awesome. That's a great game plan. I think now would be a good time to shift into the lightning round.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Sasha, we're going to jump into the lightning round. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to ask you a question and provide your immediate response or your thoughts, 60 seconds or less. And I have to start with when you went and you saw your friend when you were living in Colorado and you said, are you making six figures? And you look happy. Are you making six figures? And that's why you came back and got your real estate license. Why are you in it now?
I'm in it now because I'm really good at what I do. And I am able to help lives. And I absolutely am really grateful that the powerhouse that I've always been is now being seen and trusted and able to trailblaze for other people in this position.
I can just tell your passion for the industry. It's more than just the money. It's about
absolutely.
the people. Yeah.
The money's great, but the money's nothing in comparison to what you get out of this. Oh, the lives. Can't tell you.
Yeah, love it. So do you have a book or a podcast that you've read or watched that you'd recommend for the audience?
It really just depends. There is a lot of different avenues that you can go by. I've read a lot of empowerment books, a lot of business ethic books. I think that that's always smart to get into. I'm more of a yogi. So I've read Patanjali's sutras, which are not exactly the coolest thing to read, but for me, it's really great to my yoga practice. So it always discusses the middle ground. You see Buddha and everything else. So for me, I think that it's really just empowering that you read or listen to things that are making you better. I think that novels and podcasts that are constantly bashing or just opinionated are great. But try to listen to things, and I recommend things that are only going to help you get just a little bit better each day, or that can help unload something off of you. Because the more you carry, sometimes that kind of buries you, if that makes sense.
Love that answer. Love that answer. If we had a time machine and you could go back to the day you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself?
Get more organized. That and time blocking. I'm still working on my time blocking. Okay. Like it is something that is so important, but I truly just get more organized and lean in on yourself. I wish I would have done 100 open houses when I first started and not limited myself to less, because it was so empowering to see the results of what you do. And it always takes 60 to 90 days later. So a lot of agents give up on whatever they're doing because they don't see immediate results, not realizing that it's all just a grain in the sand that kind of makes the bigger picture. So if there was anything I can go back and tell Sasha is lean in and just run that much harder.
That's great. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Hmm. Probably Shivananda. And that's only because I follow the yogic path. And I would have just liked him to see and talk to and kind of just see what someone that was that enlightened would have been like. And we probably wouldn't have had dinner. But I believe that after reading so much and seeing so much, just to see something in the flesh that got as far as he did and was able to impact so many people on such a deep-rooted level, that would be it. But again, it's not business related, but my true honest answer would be, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. What'd you do at work yesterday?
Yesterday, I was resolving some final closings for clients that I have that are going to be closing now. Sometimes people switch lenders, so we are working on resolving a close that should be on Friday with a out-of-state buyer that started with me last year, and I'm negotiating on his behalf a couple of final details, so that was cool. I'm also working on a seller that is with a cash offer on his hands that I'm hoping to finalize as well. And I also did a little bit more of the prospecting for my other clients that have kind of been wishy-washy with everything. And I just want to make sure that they're aware that even though it's the holiday season, I'm still working. So if they are trying to see homes, even if it's for the sake of shopping or kind of getting a feel of what's going on, that I'm there for them, especially because a lot of them with their work schedules don't realize that we're also working and they think that we're off. Some people have no, I guess, barrier or boundary for us realtors, and others don't want to bother us, and they're really not. So I just kind of communicate that. So whoever does want to talk to me and work these next few weeks, I'm there for them. So that's what I did.
Sounds like a pretty good day. Sounds like a pretty
beautiful.
Good day.
Yeah.
If listeners and viewers want to either connect with you or follow your journey, where can they do so?
So I have my Instagram, and it is my handle. It's Sasha V. So ITS Sasha SASHAV. So very simple, and that's mine. I'm also on Facebook with my legal name, Sasha Valdes. So there's no middle cute name or anything else there. I'm also on LinkedIn, and those are like probably the best 3 ways to find me, and they're all linked together. So it's super simple to follow me around and see what I'm doing, or get in touch with me for any of the resources that I have, especially teaching open houses for any new agents if they're interested.
Sasha, thank you. This has been a great conversation. I can see the passion you have, and the great concepts and tips that you've provided for our audience are going to help them in their journey. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
I'm so honored to be here, and I wish everybody that's watching this the absolute best, and to lean in on themselves.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to UnlockingRealEstate@ColibriRealEstate.com.